Hi, it's Tracy from Two Rocks Tarot, and today I'm going to be doing a witchy tag, which I don't think it's something that I've done, not that I can remember anyway, despite being a, I suppose what you call practicing witch for the past 20 years, perhaps just a little bit more. And I first saw this tag on Owlvine Green. She's an Australian witch, and I can't remember where she's based now in Australia on the top of my head. But anyway, I will put a link to her video down in the description box. And so let's get straight to it, shall we? So the first question is, so there's 22 questions. So the first one is New Year's resolutions. Do you believe in them? And I'm going to say no. It's not something that I've ever really done. Even when I was young, I just really didn't believe in New Year's resolutions. I'm not sort of really a big fan in all the New Year's hype that you get, all the celebrations and all that type of thing. More often than not, I'd be sleeping through to the new year. However, this year I did something that my father always does and that his mother always did. So my father is English, his mother, both his parents were Welsh. And when the new year is coming in, is that you open the front door and you bang pots and pans and chase out the old year through the back doors and welcome in the new year. And I actually did do that using my trusty drum. I actually used the drum, and I actually did that because I had such a shit year last year. So of course those of you who know me knew that I was fighting breast cancer all last year. So I really wanted the old year to fuck off, to put it bluntly. So I did actually do that tradition this year, which I've never done before. But as for resolutions, no. And the second really question was why or why not. It's just because I just don't believe in them. But because, like I just explained, what happened to me last year, I thought I would take a leaf out of my father's book and do that. So the third question is, what's your favourite colour? Mine was always purple. Purple, purple, purple. When I was a kid, I had purple carpet, I had a purple dressing gown, I had purple everywhere. And I still love purple. But I have sort of leaned more towards these particular colours that's on my soul silk here. I actually kind of like them sort of colours because it's fresh and it's new. I'm trying to wear brighter colours as well. I just feel like I want to change. Colour has got can have a big impact on your life. And so the fourth one was, does your favourite colour hold magical or emotional meaning for you? Not so much magical, unless of course I'm actually doing magical work and I want to achieve something. So if I wanted to say, I don't know, communicate something, I might use blue, and a piece of blue lace agate. If I was doing something concerning love, which I haven't done for years, it might be pink and I'd use rose quartz. So in magical workings, I probably would. Emotional, I suppose it depends, because I've noticed once I've been through all my treatment for breast cancer, I noticed that I wanted to wear more brighter clothes, more colourful clothes. I didn't want to wear black anymore. I just wanted to wear bright colours to reflect on how appreciative I am on getting a second start in life. So I suppose, yeah, some colours do hold magical and emotional, even though not so much with purple. I just love the colour, but I don't use it as much. I never really just constantly used it, if that makes sense. I hope I'm not gambling on, but yeah. So for magical workings, yeah, colour is important. Same with crystal workings. I'm a crystal therapist, so of course you've got to know, the meanings behind the crystals and the colours. But like with anything, it's how you interpret it yourself, really, when it comes to crystals. That's why there's so many meanings for the same crystal, because everybody interprets it differently, because when they hold it, something different happens. For some people, the crystal might vibrate in the hands. For others, it might get hot. Others, it might get cold. So that's why we have so many different meanings. So I suppose you could sort of say yes and no for that particular question. The fifth one was, do you use substances for divination or meditation, like flying oils, herbs, or alcohol? And I'll say no, I don't. I don't do anything. I don't even light incense when I do tarot readings or anything like that. Not when it comes for divination or meditation. I don't even light incense. I don't listen to music. It's just silence. So, and why or why not is I like silence. So when I'm home alone, like I am most of the days because my husband works and it's just me, I very rarely put the TV on. Actually, I don't. I never, unless I want to catch up on some YouTube. So I don't watch TV. I don't have a radio. I like to read a lot or colour in or, things of that nature. But I really like silence. And I think the reason why I like silence so much is because I was in an abusive marriage before I met my now husband. And we were together for 20 years and it was an abusive one. And there was lots of yelling and screaming and carrying on all day, every day, 24/7. So when I was finally out of that environment, you've got no idea how much I appreciated silence, and I still love it. And it's quite funny because when my stepdaughter come to live with me, years now ago, must be over 10 years now, she come from a very busy, she had lots of brothers and sisters. There was always, lots of things going on. And I noticed that when she moved in, she always had to have the TV going. She always had to have something going on in the house where I don't. I really, really like silence. So I can hear the odd birds singing or the rustling of the leaves or the rain or things like that. So I think that's the why of it, is because I never had that peace and quiet that I craved back then. I do now. And I don't really need anything, any substance to help me do divination at all. I find it very, very easy. So, I don't even surround myself with white light or ground myself or any of that at all. I just read. In fact, for many, many years, I used to just read on the top of my old chest freezer. I'd never even had any special place where I read the tarot. I used to go outside, read on the grass, wherever it strikes me. So yeah, I don't do anything special for that type of thing. And what is what is your favourite part of your practice? And I'm going to say the favourite part of it is the flexibility of it all. How you can do anything whenever or however you want. I think that's the favourite part of my practice, becoming a witch, because I was brought up with no religious upbringing whatsoever. Nothing at all. So when I found this side of my life, it was from my own doing, and it's just, it gave me my power back. It brought me my voice back. It gave me my power, my voice. It made me, I found the missing link of myself, if that makes sense. So that's the favourite part of it, is the flexibility of it all. Next one is, what is the least favourite part of your practice? And I'll say the least favourite part of my practice is actually cleaning my altar, taking everything off, giving it a good clean, and then reorganising it again. And I'm quite a clean freak, so I'm one of these people that cleans the house every Monday without fail. But when it comes to like taking everything off my altar, and yeah, that's probably the least favourite part of my practice, is that particular then. The next question is, how do you feel your practice has grown over time? So when I first started, it was Wicca, because I found I used to run a guest house with my ex-husband. I found a book on the bed there was a lady there who used to live with us, or rent one of the rooms, I should say. And because she was a chef, she had odd hours. And she used to leave her rent for me, like tucked up in the lampshade. So I went in there, took her money, and I looked on her bed, and she had a book called Life's a Witch by Fiona Horn, who is an Australian witch. And I thought, that looks really, really interesting. So I read the back of it, and I questioned her about it when I saw her next. And she said, oh, it's a fantastic book. You should read it. I'll borrow it to you when I finish. And she did. And, of course, it blew my mind. It opened up my eyes to a whole new way of being. I found, like I said before, I found that missing link to myself. And I'm going to put a link up to my a card up there. If you look about this tattoo and how it came about and what happened, the message a very good, strong message I got from the goddess, absolutely blew my mind. So as how it's grown over time. So like I started off with Wicca. I walked the druid path for a little bit. I was going to study through the order of bards, ovigates and druids, but it's just too expensive. This is like 20 years ago. Just too expensive for me back then. I just didn't have the money. So what I have found out how it's grown is that I'm an eclectic witch. So I incorporate a lot of different deities, from Hecate to Bast to just calling on the goddess and gods, and not calling on anyone in particular. Angels, of course, have made a big appearance in my life before I even knew I was sick. They, you know, when I used to do a lot of crystals crying on my channel, and I used to say, you know, I seen a lot of angels in there. The angels are with, never realizing it was for me and what I was going to go through. So that is a big, and that was really hard because I didn't know how, as a witch, I could incorporate angels into my practice as well. But really, it's worked quite easy. When I do my magical workings, when I do spell work, which is not very often at all, I hardly ever do it now. You know, it's very easy to incorporate all of them together. Really, really simple. So I suppose how it's grown over time is I've gone from Wicca to Druidism to becoming an eclectic witch. Also, I'm just looking at the other questions because I'm not too sure if I should answer it in this one as how it's grown over time. No, so I reckon I can answer it in this as well. Also, I think the biggest detriment to me when I was walking down the Wicca path was all the the priestess and the priest, and it was too much. It smacked of mainstream religion, all these ceremonies and stuff like. Felt like I had to do it. Felt like I had to celebrate the Sabbaths. I had to, I had to do all these things, but they're all based on the Northern Hemisphere. Back then, there was nothing about the Southern Hemisphere. Okay, so I do follow still the Northern Hemisphere of the wheel, but I incorporate it with the Noongar wheel of the year for where I am, where the Noongar are the Indigenous people, owners of the land where I live. And when I found their wheel of the year, it just made sense with all the seasons. So seasonally, I follow that year. But I do find that, and I'll use Halloween as an example, that the veil is thinner at that time of the year, right here in Australia. And I'm going to pop up this image of my cat, and I'll circle it. And she's a black cat. I had her for 22 years. She's been gone for 6-7 years now. And she popped up among many other images on Halloween. And we used to always keep her inside because, people used to do terrible things to black cats. So, the veil is always thinner. And she popped up on there. I mean, have a look at it. It's absolutely her in that crystal ball. So how it's grown is that there is another witch called Deborah Gray, and I'm going to put her book up there, which I don't have that book anymore. I don't know where it's gone. But in it, she said, sometimes you don't have the time to do elaborate rituals, lighting candles, incense, doing a circle, casting a circle, which I don't do any of that. She said, sometimes you have to do it all in your head and it'll still work. And I think that's the biggest change in my practice. I very rarely do physical things now. I do it all in my head. And particularly when I was sick and going through chemo, a lot of it was in my head. Even though I didn't I didn't do spell work for healing or anything like that, funny enough. But I did other things, a lot of praying in my head, which of course I still do. But that's how it's changed the most, is that I do a lot of it in my head. When I read that, it just clicked, and I thought, she's right. You don't have, a lot of people, especially our busy lives, maybe so much not now with COVID because a lot of us are in lockdown, particularly here in WA. But when I read that little bit, and she actually trained in a coven back in the 70s or something like that, maybe perhaps even a little bit earlier. And I think the guy who trained her had some druid tendencies as well. It's been many years since I've read that book now. And that, I suppose, was the biggest change for me, is that I do a lot of work just in my head. I never cast a circle. If I do spell work, I always use candles and herbs. That's my favourite. I always do it with candles. I just plonk myself down in front of my altar and I just do it. I don't cast a circle. I don't call in the quarters. I don't do anything like that. I just sit there and do it. Because you've got to think, in the medieval times or over how far back you want to get it, nobody had candles and things like that, really. Oh, they might have had candles, but all the rigmarole that you see on Instagram that supposedly go, you have to have, if you're a witch, a wand and a knife and all that sort of thing. You really don't need any of it. All you need is your mind. Your mind is a powerful tool. Use it. So probably that's the biggest change, and how it's grown is I incorporated lots of different things into my work. I do a lot of it in my head and not physical. So yeah, so that was pretty long-winded, but I had to check the other the questions, because I think that's the biggest thing in my practice. And it was all through Deborah Gray saying you can do it all in your head and it'll still work. It's like anything. Once you've got your intention behind it, it'll work. Is there a show or movie that inspires you? Not really. I always loved everything that went bump in the night, and that's from having a father such as mine. He lived, grew up in England. When he was a kid, they used to try and spend the night at the Stonehenge, because back then you could. And I was always fascinated when he said we never managed to make it through a night because something always spooked us without fail. And and he told me all sorts of haunted stories, about England, and it always fascinated me. And of course, it must have fascinated my youngest daughter too, because she just came back from 2 years and living in England. It's just something that's always fascinated me. So, but as for movies, I really like the Practical Magic one. I really loved that movie. That really sort of, and I also loved the one with Bette Midler. Oh, and I can't think of the name of the movie now. If I remember it, I'll put it down in a little scroll by down there. But the one with Bette Midler was absolutely hilarious. I love Bette Midler. But there was nothing that inspired me to become what I was. Okay, so I've always liked things that go bump in the night. Always read scary stories. My books of reading aren't anything that's intellectual. It's always about vampires, werewolves, or whatever like that. I love horror stories. Quite getting into science fiction lately. So I can't say there's nothing that's really inspired me to be who I am. I've just found myself by myself, really, if that makes sense. Do you have a familiar? Well, like I said, I had a black cat for 22 years, but I never ever included her in any spell work or anything like that. When I used to read the tarot, she used to like to come and lie on top of my cards. She was always fascinated with them like that. But she has very much become my familiar in the spirit world, as has my dog Oscar, who I lost 2 years ago on Halloween, believe it or not. So they have very much become my familiar on the spirit world, and they were very much with me when I was going through my cancer treatment. In particular, my dog Oscar, I would find his fur everywhere. So I'd be making a cup of coffee and one of his piece of his fur would just float down in front of my eyes. I'd go and sit down on the couch on my recliner and there would be his fur on it was just everywhere. So I used to call them puggy kisses from heaven. Now that I'm better, I only get the odd hair every now and again, okay? And with Blackie, it was a little bit more different. It was, her showing up in my crystal ball, but just, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but they're kind of like my angels on the other side, okay? They watch over me. So they've become my familiars in spirit, really, really, really have. We have a very strong bond that death hasn't broken. Of course, I've owned and loved other animals throughout my life. But that cat, 22 years, it's a long time to have a cat. We're very, very close. And that middle picture there is a portrait of her that one of my friends actually drew of her for me. So I'd have to say that while they were alive, no. But when they crossed over, by God, yeah, they're watching out for me on the other side. Number 12 is, would you recommend any YouTube channels? Well, I don't actually watch a lot of witchy YouTube channels. Now, of course, I do occasionally watch Owlvine Green. I watch hers. She's only recently come back to YouTube from a long break. And I also watch Hearth Witch, and I'll put a link down to her as well. But really, when it comes to YouTube channels, there's so many that I love that it's too hard to mention them all. Otherwise, the description box would be like a mile long and then some. So really, it's just, I love a lot, but as for the witches ones, I'll put them two down because they're the two that I do watch the most. And I suppose I should search some more, but because I'm not much of a, I don't know, I just never got into the witch tube side of things. It was always more the tarot. So there you go. Name something you must do daily for your mental, emotional well-being for your practice. So I don't really feel there is anything that I have to do daily. I really, really don't. I've only just recently started putting offerings on my altar again, which I haven't done for a long, long time. But there really isn't anything that I have to do. The only thing that I do is I pray at night and I give thanks for all the healing that the goddess and gods and my angels and guides have given me while I was going through my cancer, and the continued healing that they give me, like, to reduce the lymphedema in my arm and to, ensure the cancer doesn't come back. I have to do that every single night now. I can't not do it. So that is something that I have to do. And I suppose that is for my mental and emotional well-being. But as the witchy side of things, because I'm always at home, always surrounded by witchy things, I was wearing my pentagram or crystals or something like that. But that is something that I have to do. I have to give thanks for all the healing that they've given me. I really, truly do, because, I've had some amazing signs while I was sick, and while I'm getting better as well. It's been good. The next one is, what is something that started as an obstacle but you can now see as a blessing? And I'm going to put angels in that, because when angels made an appearance in my life, I've always believed in them. I do. There's just too much evidence to dispute the fact. But I really didn't know how I was going to incorporate it into my witchy style lifestyle, really. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And really, it doesn't matter, I can pull a couple of angel cards and pop them on my altar along with my tarot cards. It's not an obstacle anymore. I thought it was going to be a real obstacle, because I really didn't want to go. When you go through something like cancer, you think about all sorts of things, all right? Of course you think about dying and living and so many things cross your mind, I can't say. But because they were so prevalent and made such an impact and letting me know that they were there for me, so many signs, and I can't tell you, I was really worried about how I was going to incorporate that. But it's really no big deal. So when I pray, like I said, when I pray, my first thing I say is, I invite the goddess and gods, my angels and guides, to continue to heal me. And then I'll go through the lists of what I want, what I'm asking, and then I give thanks. So it was as simple as that. So there was really no obstacles. You can welcome any deity into your life, no matter if it's an angel. Even I presume if Jesus made an appearance in a witch's life, it would be really hard for them to overcome that obstacle, I suppose. It really would, but it became a blessing, because I had so many signs from them. I've got a tattoo of the goddess, but I've also made sure that I put an angel wing on the top there, because I just had so many signs from them. So, I thought it would be a real obstacle, but it's not. It's an actual blessing. It's an absolute blessing to have angels in my life. It truly, truly is. And again, there's so many things that happen that I can't really list them all in this one video, because it'd be forever. It's already like 22 minutes in. Which do you prefer? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok? And I'm going to say YouTube. I absolutely loathe TikTok. I cannot stand it. I really don't like it at all. I love YouTube. Instagram I used to love, until they have just become overrun with imposters taking over your accounts. And then direct messaging, saying that they were you, asking for money, and then, people reporting them to Instagram, and Instagram not doing anything, even if you were verified, you had that blue tick or whatever. It just got to the point where I thought, because when I was sick, when I had cancer, I used to post on Instagram every single day, and then when I got cancer, I just left it. I couldn't be bothered with it, and I found that once I was well, that I didn't really miss it. So I actually deleted my account, so I don't have that account anymore. But the biggest reason was all the fake accounts that were on there, and Instagram not doing a damn thing about it. That really, really irked me a lot. And I think it's because we're in Australia, and I just don't think they care about people who are in Australia. If you're not in America or somewhere where it's prevalent or an influence or anything like that, they don't really care, regardless if it ruins your life. Most people on Instagram are small business owners, particularly us tarot readers. No one gets rich becoming a tarot reader, no matter what other people will tell you. Okay, it's hard bloody work, and to have someone come along and undermine you and make fun of the hard work that you put on really didn't sit right with me. So I'll never ever again use Instagram. And I did used to enjoy it, but I found like that, people that I was following, I never saw their posts anymore. I'd have to physically search for them, and I just thought, I just can't be bothered with it, so I don't miss it. As for Facebook, the only reason I keep Facebook is because I have got a Facebook page for my business, Two Rocks Tarot. But I do like to have it to keep in touch with friends and with family, and I love the jokes that are on there, and I'm in a few groups that I enjoy. So, it's not something that I have to have, but I keep it on there purely for that, and for Messenger as well. So my kids need to message me because my oldest daughter is in Melbourne, my youngest was in England, so that's why I keep Facebook. So I don't really mind Facebook, but there's a lot that I don't like about Facebook. But to have a business page, you need to have a Facebook account, unfortunately. If you didn't need to have a Facebook account to have a Facebook page, I would just have the page and not actual Facebook as well, because you could, people could still contact me. So that's what I feel. So number 16 is, what do you feel is missing from our witchy community? And I couldn't really say, because I don't really watch a lot of WitchTube. I never really have. First, because I didn't even know that it existed, because I only stumbled upon the Tarot Tube community by accident when I was a member of Eclectic Tarot for many, many years, and I was trying to find some images of a tarot deck that I wanted to buy, and they didn't have it, and I Googled it, and then Kelly from the Truth in Story popped up on my feed, and I thought, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of people who love doing what I do. So, that was a complete accident, and I never really thought about looking up at the witchy ones. So I couldn't really say what's missing from the witchy community, but if I suppose, no, I couldn't say. I couldn't really think what would be missing, because I don't watch enough of it, to be honest. So I'll just leave it at that. How much space do you use for supplies and spell work? Pretty much, I've got my supplies in this little cupboard here. My altar is right there. That's my altar. And that's about it. So I don't have a lot of I don't need a lot of space for my stuff, because like I said, I usually use just candles and herbs. So I've got a big jar of herbs, which is under my altar. Oh. So these are all my witchy herbs, which do not eat. Not that anyone's going to eat, because we haven't got kids. Well, we do, but they're all grown up. And I keep my incense in a wooden box under there that my oldest daughter made for me when she was in high school. Now she's a mother of 5, so you can imagine how long ago that is, 34 years ago. So, that's it. That's all I have. I don't need a lot. And the next one is, how many altars do you have in your home? I was going to say just one, but then I have got where I sit, and I might insert a picture there. As you can see, I've got the amethyst cave, and I've got crystals in there. And one of my friends said to me, is that an altar? And I said, no. And I thought, maybe it is. So but the reason why it's there is because when I was going through chemo, your bones ache like you wouldn't fucking believe. Okay, it's like you got a heartbeat in each and every single bone in your body, and it goes boom. And the pain is so bad. So a lot of the times I couldn't sleep in bed, so I used to sleep in my recliner, because it just took the pressure off your back, off everything like that. And I thought that the crystals, all their healing, I'd lay crystals on my body, when I still had a breast, I'd put my, around the tumour and everything like that for the pain, and, to get rid of it, and I'd just sleep like that, and that used to help me a lot. So I suppose you could call that an altar, and it would be a healing altar, because when I brought that crystal amethyst there that you saw, I didn't actually know I was sick, and I really wanted to go to the crystal warehouse where I get my supplies from, and I picked out a whole heap of crystals that I felt like, and this amethyst cave that you can see was just calling to me, and I could have gotten a bigger one for not much more money. But this one, I could feel it. When you walk past it kept pulling me in, and the power of it. And I thought, that's the one that I need. Later on, when I found out I had cancer, I found out that every single crystal that I chose had a healing propriety associated to it that would help me with my cancer. I kid you not. So that is my healing altar, and that's where I sit. So even if I'm not laying crystals on my body or anything like that, that to me is the healing part. This is the working altar if I want to do things, and if I should meditate, which I'm trying to meditate every day, just sit there and take some time out. So I suppose you could say 2. That's the healing one. What is your favourite Sabbath? Well, I haven't really got one because I don't really celebrate the Sabbaths. I just don't do it. But I could imagine if I was living in America, I think Halloween would be my favourite. I think it must be absolutely awesome to have all the houses done up like that and everything. I think it would be really wonderful. But I haven't really got a favourite Sabbath. I just enjoy each day now, no matter what it brings, and that's only because of what I've gone through, I suppose. I mean, I've always enjoyed, since I've been my second husband, I've always enjoyed and appreciated my life, but you appreciate it even more when you go through something like cancer. So do you prefer tarot, runes, oracle, deck, or pendulum? Well, I love using all of it. I don't use the runes as much, and I've been promising myself that I should do it more. I did make my own rune set like 20 odd years ago, but it's not something that I'm drawn to a lot. So it would have to be tarot and oracle. When I was sick, I leaned more towards the oracle, only because I didn't want to read anything in the tarot that I didn't want to read. That makes sense. So, but now I'll quite happily pick up my tarot cards and use them whenever I feel like it. But if I'm going to be honest, I'll have to say tarot, oracle. Pendulum, I do use my pendulum. But when I do with my crystal healing, I like to use that. The pendulum will pick up where the patient needs healing. That it really, really does. So yeah, that'd be my 3 favourite. Are you out of the broom closet? Well, if I'm not, I am now. Yes, I've been out of it ages ago. I told my mum straight away when I found this path, and she was absolutely fascinated with it. And she was telling everybody that I was a witch. So yeah, there's no stigma. Everyone knows who I am, what I am. In fact, this little mug, which I've got some feathers in here, this is what my stepdaughter brought me for Christmas. So I'm very much out in the open. Nothing to be ashamed of at all. Very, very happy for that. And then the last one, who are you going to tag in this interview? I'm going to tag every single one of you out there who is a witch. Do this tag and let us know and let us know your witchy side, I think. Yeah. So anybody who wishes to do it, please do so. Until next time, this is Tracy.